Thing. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Million Dollar Body Podcast. If you're here, it's probably because you're a high performer, real estate agent, or an entrepreneur that's interested in maximizing your physique, your finances, and your family time using fitness and nutrition as force multipliers in your life. If you're not already a part of the Facebook community, definitely go to n8trainingsystems.com/group. That's where we stream these podcast episodes live every week, where you can join in, ask questions. There's a ton of cool things happening in the group, as well as a massive amount of free resources. Again, to go to n8trainingsystems.com/group to join us there. If you're already in the group and watching it live, we're super excited to have you, because today we're talking with the man, the myth, the legend, Isaac Ho, about how to develop a relentless mindset and how it relates to injuries, relationships, hitting your fitness goals, staying really healthy, and all of that during a pandemic. Isaac, tremendous to have you here.
Thank you so much, Nate. Thanks for having me on. Man, you got me fired up with your intro.
Let's do this. All right. So one thing I got to say about you right now is that you are already showcasing that relentless mindset. You're sitting in Federal Way in Washington in the rain because you had told me before we were going to do this podcast. And even though you've been driving for 4.5 hours today, trying to get home, you pulled off to the side of the road. So we could hit this time spot. And I just so appreciate it, man. That's badass.
Oh, I appreciate you dealing with the lighting and the audio. But I was like, we're going to do it. We're going to make it work, and it's going to be great.
I've heard that the audio in cars is like best for male voices, whereas audio in showers is better for female voices. In case you're like a sing in the car or sing in the shower type of person. Which are you?
I'm definitely singing in the shower. I get a little too happy when I sing in the car, and then I crash my car. It's only happened twice so far, but I decided to stop after the second time.
Probably good to learn from that then, yeah. Well, I'm a big sing in the car kind of guy. I also sing on walks or sing while I'm riding my bike. But, people, I get weird looks, but I'm always like past them, so I can't tell. Dude, I'm super excited to jump in. I wanted to share just briefly how we met and where we know each other from, and why you're on the Million Dollar Body Podcast today. But Isaac and I actually met through a mutual friend, Alex Hayden, at the Best Year Ever Blueprint event in 2017, where we got to spend a full weekend together just diving deep on some personal development stuff. And then one thing Isaac said to me that really stood out, this is kind of like my first foray into personal development, into going to conferences and learning, and I was just a little bit nervous, not sure really necessarily how to approach the thing. And so I was like, man, have you been to a conference like this before? How many conferences have you been to? It sounds like you've been to a couple. And he goes, how many conferences have I been to? That's like asking, how good do you want to get? All of them. And I know that you're a little embarrassed of that now, but I still think it was so awesome, because it just speaks to your relentless mindset and of developing your own personal skills. And Isaac has some of the most incredible skills of a lot of human beings that I've met, both in terms of his ability to get down, psychologically get into the nitty gritty of injury recovery through mental work. Physically, he's one of the most gifted practitioners of strain and counter strain, among other different types of therapeutic modalities. I told you I had driven to this conference. It's in San Diego. I'm from Tempe. So I drove for about 6-7 hours. I got there and I just had this nasty knot in my trap. And I was like, great. I'll be sitting all weekend doing these things, trying to show up excitement. But my neck is just killing me. And he's like, does it? And he pressed my head and he's like, how does it feel when I do this? And I'm like, well, that hurts. And he's like, well, how's this? And I'm like, oh, that's actually way better. What did you do? And he's like, I'll show you the book, but you can't even understand it. So we looked at the book and he was right. I couldn't understand any of it. But Isaac's the man. I'm super excited to chat with you today. But yeah, thanks for being here, man.
Oh man, I remember. We'll talk about relentless mindset, driving 7 hours to go to a conference when you're not really sure you want to be in the self-development conference. I mean, that's uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable.
So glad I did, though. That was the start of some really amazing things. And I feel like that weekend really set off and just exposed me to some things in life and different people and ideas that I hadn't really thought about before. So man, I reflect very fondly upon that weekend.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny. I remember, at the end of the event, they did an invite only for certain people. And I remember getting the alcohol with you for that party. Do you remember that? It's all this alcohol. We were just the fitness guys lugging it up the stairs. but there was a lot of fun moments, and I really loved your energy, and we've stayed in touch afterwards. Man, it's been coming up on 4 years. It's going to be
Yeah.
21 since then. So it's been incredible to watch you grow. I remember walking with you in what was it, San Francisco, or no, it was in San Diego,
There you
right?
go. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember walking at the break in San Diego and you telling me what your business was like, and Bot in the Box and your business model. And it's changed so much since then. And, I talked to some people 4 years later and I asked them what they're up to. And it's the exact same thing. They haven't changed anything. They went to an event, they heard something, but nothing's really changed. It's really
Maybe it was
incredible to
working for him.
watch.
Bot in the Box
Yeah.
was a definitely a failing forward moment for me. But I feel like, not to like pat myself on the back, but it was never about like, oh, I want to create a product and sell the product. It was always about how do I help more people get better results? And it seemed like Bot in the Box was the one avenue to do that. I wrote a book about it kind of, and it didn't really pan out. I didn't feel like it was the thing that people needed to get from level A to level B. So, in the interest of always like pursuing that next level of where do we go to help people like achieve that next level of greatness in their own life? If one thing's not working, I wasn't going to keep like banging my head against a wall to get it done. So we have to improvise, adapt, overcome, pull over on the side of the road and do a podcast. You know what I mean?
That's right. Well, that's what we were going to talk about today. I texted Nate that we were going to explode it up today
Absolutely.
with this podcast. And, really one of the big things, it's just about the engine that drives all performance is the mind. And most of us, everyone it's like having an incredible computer and you're sitting in front of it and you can't figure out how to turn it on. That's how I think about the mind. You get 3 people with the same computer and only one knows where the on switch is. And the other 2 are, they believe it's on the monitor, but it's not on the monitor. It's not on the monitor. It's on the actual console.
Maybe you figure out how to turn it on, right? But like 2 people are playing solitaire and someone is like coding at a high level, right? It's a really powerful tool, but only if we're using it for like at its capacity or like with the end in mind, right? So I know we had talked a lot about like, okay, how like gyms are shutting down depending on where you're at in the country, or they have been shut down, or we're at home. There's a lot of big challenges being thrown at us this year, right? And it's not like, oh, let's just take a timeout. Let's take a year-long hiatus from health and fitness, right? But we have to figure out another option, another opportunity. What can we do instead? And rather than talking about like, hey, here's some specific equipment and like, here's how you do a jump lunge, because you can find that shit on YouTube right now if you want to. What's the mental shift, Isaac, or what's the mental switch that we have to start turning on like once, twice on a daily basis to put us in a place where we can, like, it no longer matters if the gym is available or not. That's what I kind of want to talk about today with you.
Yeah, well, it's about asking yourself this question: what do you believe to be true about your fitness? Because if you believe that your fitness is about a gym, a piece of equipment, going to a place, and that's your fitness, then that's why you have the current level of fitness that you have, and that's why you haven't succeeded where you want to succeed.
Oof. I mean, it sounds kind of harsh coming across like that, but I love that question. What do you believe about your level of fitness? And like, so what kind of answers to that question do you get?
Well, it's going to be different for everyone, but what do you believe? It's not even about the level. It's like, what do you believe about fitness? What do you believe about health? Those are going to determine how you approach the situation. So if someone's sitting in front of a computer and what they believe about the computer is the on button is on the monitor and they keep hitting the monitor button, well, obviously they believe something that's untrue and that's why they can't get it to work. But they spend all their time trying to figure out how to fix the monitor. It's like the biggest, so it's just a tragedy. When what they really need to do, it's because they believe something untrue. They keep responding to it as if it's true, and that creates the failure. So when I'm in conversations with people and I ask them what they believe about their health, what they believe about their fitness, and they're coming to me and they haven't achieved that yet, what we really have to understand is the false belief they have that's creating the problem.
So how do we unpack the false belief and how do we determine that it is in fact false?
Yeah, so just know and understand that it is false, because if it wasn't false, they would have already succeeded.
So obviously, if you're not where you want to be at, you're operating from like a false premise, or just like an
Yeah,
incorrect like
exactly.
base. Okay.
Yeah, you're operating from a place where you believe something to be true that isn't true. So let's say, for example, someone goes, um, and usually we just explore this. So if I ask, what do you need to be successful with your health, or what would being healthy look like for you? And they go, well, it's losing 20 pounds of body fat. So what do you need to lose 20 pounds of body fat? And usually their answer is, I need to do more cardio, or I need to do these workouts, right? And then I might ask them, well, what's your diet like? Because I've seen plenty of people lose 20 pounds by working on their nutrition. So that can be an example of them looking at the wrong area. And as long as they continue to chase exercise without focusing on nutrition, they won't achieve what they want to achieve, or they'll achieve it until they get too busy to train 6 days a week, and then they won't have it anymore.
Yeah. I think that's like propagated a lot across the fitness industry. Like if you look at shows like The Biggest Loser, like those guys are training 7 days a week for 2, 3, 4 hours. They lose a bunch of weight, right? But then if they ever stop that type of like manic exercise protocol, they gain it all back. You can't not.
I've actually had clients that were on The Biggest Loser, and
Really?
that's 100% true, Nate. They gain it back, and they struggle really hard because it's like being a figure competitor. When you've trained and starved yourself, and you know what your body can look like, but you didn't do it in a sustainable way, you actually loathe yourself for not looking that way, and it's very unhealthy. And a lot of them battle a lot of depression. And people that are obese that lose the weight and do it in a way where they now believe that's what it takes to lose the weight, they suffer from a lot of those same depressive qualities, because their physical body is now attached to a process that they don't like, enjoy, want to do, that they really only did because they were on a TV show and pretty much forced to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, like you don't have to even be on The Biggest Loser for you to have had that experience, right? Where if you attach like a gulag mentality to weight loss and you're like, mate, I'll just beat myself into submission in like to working out every single day and I'm only eating 1,200 calories, then when you try to resume like a normal lifestyle, you've trained not only your mind to like think that's the only way to get these results, but also your physiology. You've trained yourself to stop doing those like little non-exercise activities. If you're a toe tapper, you stop all that, you start parking closer, you stop walking, like your body starts adapting to that really, really low calorie lifestyle and that slave beat down mentality in the gym. And you're like, man, if that's what it takes to get back there, maybe I would just rather not have it.
Yeah. Or I'll see a lot of clients with different adaptations. For example, let's say the way they if they were steadily gaining weight and they decide they want to lose weight, and let's say they didn't hire a professional, so they're just kind of doing whatever. Well, what's the number one way people go, I'm going to start losing weight? Well, they just stop eating. Right. And so then they just stop eating, and then they're really surprised when they start having issues with their pancreas because the blood sugar is not level anymore. I actually ran into this myself where it was like, oh, I'm going to start intermittent fasting. So I intermittent fasted for, 10, 12 years. And then I went, it's interesting that my pancreas is kind of underfunctioning. Well, what do a lot of people do when they're intermittent fasting when they feel tired? They supplement with caffeine. And what is caffeine? It's a neurotransmitter. So you've now got stress signals in your body that are ramping up energy levels when you don't actually have the energy in your bloodstream. And that's stressful. That's stressful in the body. And if you do that over and over again, you actually create a lot of problems for the body. And they're not problems that are easily fixed.
Because when you're drinking caffeine, it's not like you're just getting energy. You're borrowing it from future Isaac.
That's
Right?
right.
Yeah. So it's not like someone has to pay for that. And it's you later. So I feel like that's the same. Like, I feel like that, like, yes, caffeine can be one of those things, but like, especially if you're trying to lose a lot of weight and you're turning to like thermogenics or different diet pills, that can be like a real slippery slope to slide down, because you never you can end up with decreased adrenal function, decreased metabolic rate, like heart palpitations,
Yeah,
and
heart
for
strain.
what? Yeah. And for what?
Yeah.
Like a flash in the pan at your ideal weight, because you can't cheat physiology. You can do this one of two ways: the right way or the wrong way. And if you do it the wrong way, you're going to gain it all back, and then some, probably for good measure. And then you got to deal with the issues you created from doing it the wrong way. Or you can do it nice and slow and steady, the right way. But again, like the right way doesn't start with cardio, right? It starts with what's in here.
Yeah, and the right way is not always slow. I think a lot of people avoid the right way because they think it's going to be slow. But, you know, I've got clients where I just put them on certain protocols and they lose weight faster than people that are cutting calories. And the reason why is once they can absorb and digest and the body works better and all the organ functions better, the body shreds up much easier. It doesn't need a lot of physical stress. It's actually healing. Like that manipulation I did on your neck. You know, like you probably would assume that was inflamed and it hurt, which it was. But I've had clients that come in with inflamed arms. They think it's fat, and I just treat it, and the arm shrinks down, the inflammation goes away, it doesn't hurt, and it happens like that. But it's not, you know. So assuming that because it's the right way that it's slow, that's part of the limiting belief some people can have that really stop them from even approaching, you know, a way that could be faster and better that they would enjoy more.
That's a great point. And I do think though that a lot of people have limiting beliefs around what is weight loss and what constitutes weight loss. So the first thing is, like you said, let's just cut calories. Let's just cut it way down. I think the second one could definitely be like, oh, I need to do cardio. I need to kind of fight my body and put myself through the workout, get really sweaty to lose weight, right? And the third one is like you said, it's got to be slow. It's got to be tedious to do it the right way. But like you pointed out, if you're working with your body, if you're working with normal hormonal functions, then you're going to be faster and you're going to do it in a more sustainable fashion than if you weren't.
Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah, and the first shift it takes is being willing to do it a way you haven't been doing it before, and being willing to explore how it cannot be fast, or how it cannot be slow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it comes to pain, you know, talking about pain. Do you want to talk about pain a little bit?
Oh, let's talk about it.
So, you know, just kind of background, if you're listening to this, my background's actually in helping people with pain. That's really what I do. 90 to 100% of the work that I do is about helping with pain, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain. So the first thing it takes when we're shifting out of pain is changing our understanding of why we have the pain. So if we think that, let's say our back hurts because it's a tight muscle, then we're doing everything you can for muscles. A lot of those people still have that back pain, because there's so many reasons why you can have back pain, depending on the segment. It could be an organ problem. Depending on what's going on in the restriction, it could be blood flow to the organ, or it could even be like a spinal issue that causes an organ problem. So there's just so many different things about what you have to believe to shift that, and you have to be curious about that process. But generally what I see is people will take an approach to pain and they go, well, I don't understand how this is working. And when they don't understand it and they don't connect it, which I think is the biggest tragedy. And that's one of the reasons why I'll let, you know, when I first met you, and this was, 4 years ago. So the thing that I knew is people didn't understand it. So I would kind of respond the way that I responded. I'll let you look at the manual. You won't understand it. But what I've really learned to do in the last few years is to help people understand it. Because when they understand it, next time they have the problem, they don't go, man, what was that thing that Isaac did? They actually go, oh, I've got a neural strain issue from stress. And I just need to find someone who can turn that off. And then I feel great. And that's just a completely different situation than, and I realize the sun's going down over here. So hold on, I'm gonna set my car alarm off. Let's see. Here we go.
You look great, by the way.
That's any
you
better.
can just tell the sun is coming up over here.
I thought we were both on the West Coast. I feel a little bit cheated, but this is my little fireball right here.
Mm.
So
yeah, but I'm on the Phoenix version of the West Coast, which means that it's 70 and sunny today. So
yeah, I don't
come
know
on down.
I don't know if you can hear the raindrops over here through the car. Like they're almost so loud. I was like, I wonder if Nate and his audience can even hear me because the raindrops are so loud. But I have kind of sound canceling ones.
Coming through loud and clear.
It's like, yeah, educating people on really why and getting the understanding for it. And I think that's incredible. It's incredible how many clients I'll come in and I'll say, oh, you got your blood test. Let's go over those blood tests. And then I'll ask them, did your doctor go over this blood test with you? Like, did he tell you what it means so you can make changes? And they go, no, he just said it was high. And
you only get 10 minutes with a doctor, right?
Well, what are you supposed to do with it's high? You know, it's like they wait until, some people might wait until it's really high. And this is the case in some of my clients, to a point where they just find out one day they have diabetes. But it's like, you don't develop type 2 diabetes overnight. You know, you were showing that for years. You know, the upper range when you're looking at fasting glucose, like 99 is pretty much you've exited the top range. Well, 84, once you're past 84, you're at about a 50% risk. And then every one digit you go up is 6% higher. So like a jump from 84 to 85 is like 18% higher. It's just incredible. Yet most people say nothing until they hit 99 and they're diabetic. I even have a client right now who, it's funny, he sends me his test and I'm like, your fasting glucose is 92, dude. And he goes, my doctor was a little bit worried about my low testosterone. Well, if you got an insulin issue, do you think you're going to have a testosterone issue?
No, they're not connected, are they? Not at
Yeah,
all.
the body is completely separate.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's,
interesting.
yeah, it's learning those things I think is really important. And that's one of the reasons why, when I'm working with clients, I want them to understand about their body, because taking ownership of your body means understanding how it works.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that you said that stood out to me earlier was being curious. I think that like so often, like people have either lost weight one time doing extreme dieting or cardio, or they watch Biggest Loser, or they're reading the magazine covers and it's like, here, the skinny tea you need to drop 20 pounds this Saturday. And so when you see the world through that lens, like it's, if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So you're like, well, like I need to drop some weight. The only solution is run 60 minutes every single day nonstop. That like,
Yeah.
and so rather than being curious about like, okay, what's causing this? What's causing me to like, am I overeating? What's causing me to crave carbohydrates at this time period? What else is going on? Am I stressed? Am I sleeping enough? Am I getting enough water? And like, instead of kind of being curious and taking like a holistic view, we are quick to diagnose ourselves generally in the wrong way.
That's 100%. Yeah. And we're just not the best diagnoses of ourselves, because, you can't see the solution from the lens that created the problem.
So, I mean, like in that exact same vein, do you write your own training protocols? Do you train yourself?
No, I have someone that writes my programs for me.
Same. I can't cause it's so hard to see outside of yourself to develop. And you and I have a combined, 2 decades of experience training. You think that we'd be able to just like mock up a quick program that gets us amazing results, right?
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely do a program. I guess the question is, what's the goal of the program? So I've probably done the things really well and a lot that I already know how to do. So doing more of that is not going to create a change.
And what gets
So
you from point A to point B is not going to necessarily get you to point C, right? We're like kind of like a pyramid. So if like
exactly.
dropping calories and trying a skinny tea, okay, got you the first 5 pounds. Well, that's not going to get you that next 10 pounds. And it's not going to get you the longevity of the results that you're looking for. Like, I feel like that's one big thing. Like, again, it's if I only have one tool, I'm going to try to apply that to every single possible scenario, not thinking that the body is a complicated, like, um, connected system that takes multiple stimuluses and multiple like tweaks and shifting of levers and knobs to get those things that you really want, right?
Yeah, like to take that a little bit deeper, one of the things that helps with lactic acid is actually a type of bacteria called lactobacillus, and it actually helps you break down the lactic acid in your body. So if you've got one person that's doing a lot of lactic acid training, strength training, and they're like, wow, I'm getting really sore and I feel really tired, that's someone that probably doesn't have enough good bacteria to break down the lactic acid. So in that case, that's someone who you would want to put on more aerobic training. And so everyone's completely different, and the body is always adapting for the situation it has. And if you only have one tool, like I'm going to put you on resistance training as hard as possible. Or for example, there are different skeletal structure types that tolerate eccentric loading much better. So slow tempo and absorbing into the joints. And there are others that don't. And if you take someone who doesn't absorb that force well, they usually complain of joint pain. But you go, well, everyone should lift controlled and slow. Well, it could actually give them a joint problem.
That's so interesting. And I feel like, again, it's just something that you're not going to get from reading a magazine or watching a YouTube video about a workout. That's something that comes from extended education and like external eyes on your situation.
Yeah, I think the thing about trainers, and I think the thing about fitness is, anyone can get their fitness cert in a weekend. This is something I told my brother because he's an eye doctor and he wants to open a clinic. So, one of the things I'm doing is I'm coaching him around doing that. And it's like, hey, when you're an eye doctor, you've done enough schooling where another eye doctor can't just roll down the street. But you could have another eye doctor that opens up, about 6-minute drive away from you. And what's going to be your differentiating factor between you and him? So if you're looking at like some of the technologies they're looking at now for dry eyes are really, really easy to operate machines that even a lab assistant could do. I said, don't specialize in that, because from a business perspective, LensCrafter can get someone to run that machine for super cheap. And they're a nationwide company. They can undercut you $15. Go learn something that's going to be really, really valuable to the client, that's going to require skill, something like scleral lenses, and the same thing with trainers. I think a lot of people may look at a trainer and not really understand that they're really, really different. You can have trainers that are just animals at nutrition. You can have trainers that are animals when it comes to managing inflammation treatment. You can have trainers that are really good at the mindset that can actually get you into to workout if that's really the struggling point. It's, there's so many tools, and a lot of those tools aren't going to be in magazines. And the reason why is the magazine doesn't know what tool you need, because the magazine hasn't evaluated you for why you're failing. It just goes, would you like the results? It comes in 5 minutes. Would you like to buy this? And of course, the answer for a lot of people is yes, because I'd like the result. And the reason I haven't solved my problem is the way I think about the problem, which means I'm probably going to take a shortcut. So of course I'll buy your magazine and then keep having the problem.
Yeah, and I think that like we've also trained advertisers that we want the easy solution. We have a 17-second, if that, like attention span now. So if you're like, if a magazine cover read, great results in 12 months, you'd be like, ha, on to the next,
Right.
Lifetime results, all you can handle in 2 years. People would be like, no, give me the thermogenics, give me the diet pills,
give me the
hydroxycut.
It's funny, I've had clients that are physicians and they want to lose weight, and we'll talk about everything they need to do, and they'll come back and they'll be on fat burners until they start having heart problems, and then they'll stop. And you'd think like, this is a doctor, right? This is a really intelligent person. This is someone people are coming to see for their health, and they're doing all the things that you're talking about. So
they're human too.
You're not talking about it because you like to talk about it. I think you're talking about it because you see it often. I also think, like the kind of people that you and I would hire to write programs, the kind of people that you and I would hire to consult, we're at different training levels. We just understand it more. It's funny, like I know you're somewhat a gamer. So if you're a gamer right now, this analogy is for you. If you're not a gamer, just plug your ears until I'm done with it. But if in the new Destiny 2, I was playing this with a friend last night, and he said, you're going to get really good stuff. It's just going to come flying at your face until you reach a 1200 power level. Once you reach 1200 power level, the game's going to stop giving you anything. It's going to make it super hard to get something, because it's only going to bring you to a certain point, and then it's going to want you to work for the rest of it. And the reason it brings you to that point is so you can play with the other people. Because if you were so underpowered, you wouldn't want to play. Well, a lot of beginning training is like that. Many people can run into a gym, just pick up some weight, lose a little bit of weight, but the longer you've been at it, the more you realize you start getting things like injuries. You start getting things like plateaus. You start running into problems like, have any of you gone on 1200 calories? You know what the biggest problem you run into? You can't take a shit anymore. And most people may not realize that, but I've actually been on 1700 calories for months. I've tested it and I've put clients on it. And the number one biggest issue they run into is constipation. Have you seen this?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They start getting constipated. So what do you think's happening that they're getting constipated? They're malnourished. So what happens when you malnourish the body and you put training stress on it? You break the body down. And then that's when people start getting really bad hormonal issues. But that's just the first sign of it. So, I'm bringing this up because it's the reason why I think we're so passionate and we do so much research is we want to know, like, what does it take to get someone not just through the first neurological phase of it's easy, that first 1200 power level, but like, what does it take to actually get someone to 2000?
And I think that's the relentless mindset we were talking about.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you're going to get plateaus, you're going to get injuries. You're like, the longer you stay in this game, the higher chance of ending up with like a tweaked knee or a hurt low back or something. And what do you do then? You say, fuck it. You say like, sorry, I guess I just won't be healthy anymore. I won't have fitness. I'm done with it. What do you do?
Yeah. And I think also just addressing addressing this, I think, is really important, is that a lot of people are doing fitness in ways that the body doesn't really like. And so then they create back problems. And a lot of people are doing nutrition in ways the body doesn't really like. So then they create like constipation problems. And that's why it's so important to reevaluate what you believe about what you believe. Because if you're doing it the way the average person does it, you're probably going to have average results. And those results are the ones we're describing. And those are the very commonly advertised results. Like if you look at burpees, it's like, okay, it's like that gets you tired, right? But what are you really training here? You're training maybe a toe touch, maybe a squat on your tiptoes. You're training usually people sagging, dropping down into it. You're not training any actual qualities that are good. So what do you think happens after you've been doing burpees for 6 months? You start complaining of all sorts of nagging pain, and maybe your shoulders are loaded, maybe your knees are loaded. But I'll say this: there are very few people I've seen do a lot of burpees that also have really good squats with their heels flat. And it's not a mistake. It's because that pattern is collapsing that person into a ball. And what they need to squat is to actually shift backwards. So if you just do this over and over again, but your body's supposed to be here, you're not going to feel too good.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like, again, like if your tool's a hammer, everything's a nail. Burpees, I mean, I feel like they train really good, like compressed spine and like knees over toes. But beyond that, like it's like you said, it's just getting you tired. It's just another, like, it's almost like I call that like a cheap trainer trick, where it's like, okay, hey, great job on your rows. And they're like, what's next? And you're like,
burpees.
Burpees. And you give them the finger and you walk away and you start texting your friend. You're like, look at that. I made this idiot do for $60 an hour. It's like, it's cheap. It's cheap. It's cheap. Like if you're doing the cabbage soup diet, your results, they're cheap. If you like, anyone can lose 20 pounds, Isaac. If you want to eat chicken, like if you want to eat grilled tofu and broccoli, like for the next 30 days, guaranteed you're going to lose 20 pounds. That's cheap. It doesn't matter. Because the second you have a bagel, the second you have a beer, the second you do anything enjoyable in your life, that shit's going to come right back for you. And so it doesn't, like, you're hitting your fitness goals in a lot of ways, like doing a workout, getting exercise doesn't matter. It's really, because it's really all about what's going to get you to where you want to be and that you can sustain it long term.
Yeah.
So it's not all about 1,200 calorie diets. It's not about burpees. It's not about just getting sweaty.
And I'm curious for you, like the clientele that you work with, the kind of people that come to see you for help, do they even reach their fitness goals before they come to you?
A lot of them, a lot of people do. Yeah. A lot of them, people are like, have done it before, have dropped the weight or have looked a certain way and are like, my previous methods though, what I was doing aren't working, or I don't have time to do them anymore because I was hitting the gym 6 days a week and I was meal prepping on Sundays. Like, what do you have that can do that without me spending 14 hours a week focused on my nutrition or focused on my training? And so that's why I hear from a lot of people who we work with.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's the clientele I tend to work with. They're usually people that they've gone like, hey, I got in quasi shape, maybe not as good as they really wanted it to be. I think when they're honest with themselves, I really ask them. So like, that's 100% the best shape you've ever, like that's, you were just really just in love with your body then. Like, there's some things. So, but usually the conversation is after they've fallen off for a good amount of time. And then we look at all the reasons they've fallen off. It sounds like, are you working with people that have already gotten there, now are just trying to maintain it and they can't do it with the way they've done it?
Most of the time we've yo-yoed. It's like, hey, I used to be in like tip-top shape. Either like I was close to my end goal of like what I really wanted to look like, or actually was there. And then something like life happened, job happened, started a business, had kids, whatever else. And now I'm here and I don't have the time to put in those 2-a-days I was doing previously, where I was literally like training in the morning, taking a nap, eating chicken and broccoli, and then taking another nap. Like, and now I don't have time because they're not in college anymore. So we talk to a lot of people like that.
You were going to say, I wasn't training with LL Cool J anymore.
I haven't trained with him in months. He never calls.
He never calls. Well, that was his diet. He said he locked himself in the gym. And like the only food that was the food he ate was the food that was brought to him.
That's one way to do it. That's a good way to do it if you have unlimited time and resources.
Right.
I don't think many people fall into that boat. So, but like, okay, let's going back to like, battling through injury. We talked about like the stuff. Some places are on lockdown. And what's your ideas about fitness? Does your fitness involve an elliptical and a stairmaster, or how do we start reframing our mindset around my fitness is intrinsic. It's inside of me. If there's no gym, I'm gonna get a workout in. If there's no if I can't go to a park and use a bar, then I'm doing it on the floor. If I can't use the floor, I'm gonna go for a run. Like I'm figuring it out because fitness is part of who I am and part of what makes me keeps me as good as I want to be on a daily basis. How do we develop that relentless mindset though?
Yeah, the first step, it's going to be different for everyone. Like you've actually just stated your mindset around it, and it's a really, really strong mindset. So it may not be everyone's mindset. So I'd ask the person, how does your fitness make your life better? Like how does you being more fit allow you to achieve what you want to in this world and in this life? And really understanding why it's important to them and really understanding how it benefits them. And then once they understand that, and once they understand what's on the other side of that to a really, really deep level, then what we can do is we can start looking at what's available to them. And a lot of times I let my clients decide and design that by asking them questions. But, I've had clients that, yeah, they have lockdown and they don't, I've had some with really tough situations where because of the people they were living with, they just couldn't really go out because they didn't want to bring anything back because of the category of risk that these people they lived with were in.
Mm-hmm.
So, they had to just work out in their bedrooms. And then I've had others where it's like, yep, they don't have a gym anymore. So when it really comes to equipment, the question to ask yourself is, if you don't have any equipment, why? It's been 12 months. So why do you have zero equipment now? There's something going on with your thinking and your belief that you don't have the equipment. I'm not even sure if you had the equipment, you would use it, because what's really dysfunctional here is the way you think. So just know that if it's been 12 months and you have zero equipment, that the problem is not that there's no equipment available or that the gyms are closed.
I was at Play It Again Sports like a couple days ago, and they got dumbbells there, barbells, everything. They got everything there. The
Yeah,
equipment is available now, especially since Amazon and stuff's got over their initial hump. It's there, and you're right. Like it's not about waiting for the time to come. It's about working with what you have. I feel like there's a clear difference. I can tell someone who's going to be successful by the question they ask. When the shutdowns happen, I could tell instantly who is going to relapse and who is not going to. Because the people who are not going to, who are going to keep gaining fitness and they're going to get better and better, they came to me and I swear to God, someone came to me and said, okay, so my gym's shut down, so I have to switch up the workouts. Here's what I have. I have a 38-pound rock outside. I have a suspension trainer, and I can use 2 paper plates as sliders. That's what they said to me. And I was like, let me write you a crazy workout right now because you're going to be successful. I know you're going to execute. You told me you have a rock outside you're going to use. And that's the kind of mentality. They brought solutions to the party. They were like, here's the lockdown. Here's the facts. Here's what's happening. Here's my solution. What can we do together? There's a collaboration, right? Whereas the people who were like, the gym is shut down. What should I do now? I was like, oh man, you're going to have such a hard time with this because you want to be spoon-fed the next steps. You have no solutions on your own. This is it's no longer a collaborative relationship. You're just looking for the handout. When that can work for a short amount of time, there's no way you can sustain a fitness lifestyle with that mentality. What do you think?
100%. So how do you work with someone like that, Nate? How do you help them change that so they can sustain it?
I agree with what you said earlier. It's not about hey, okay, well, now let's do some jump squats and we'll do a wall sit at your house. We can still work on push-ups. It's why is this important to you? What are you going to get out of this? And I feel for a lot of entrepreneurs who are people in the group right now, they know that fitness literally equals more money for them. The fitter you are, the more energy you have, the better focus you can have. So that's the more energy you can bring to your family after work. And it's more focus and stuff you can bring to your clients during work to build a bigger business. So it's easy to connect for entrepreneurs hey, the better shape I'm in, the better growth I'm going to get in my business, the more the more financial success I'm going to have. I'm not a business coach. I can't help you make more money, but I can help you have the tools to make yourself more money.
And you can help them get their energy right so that the money can come to them instead of them being in a state where they're not open to receiving it.
The energy is really powerful too. I feel like that's the one thing my wife will always she'll tell you if there's a time when I'm like, I go like take a week off, or I don't go to the gym, or something happens, whatever else. She's like, get this guy out of here. He is grumpy as hell. But like the energy,
Yeah,
just spending your energy. Oh, I was talking to someone about like parenting kids, and they're like, you know what the number one secret for parenting teenagers is? And I was like, well, tell me. Like the number one secret, I gotta know. And they were like, wear them out every day. Wear them out. These kids need to go to bed tired. Tired kids make good decisions.
I love
I
that.
love that. And that's not
That's
just
so
true for
funny.
teenagers either. That's adults. We're all grumpy. We're all pessimistic. You know, we have like this negative view because we spend time watching the news. We spend time like looking at our phones. We're always like right in here, and we're never burning off this energy. So we go to bed with all this energy, and then we wake up feeling weird. Like, no wonder.
Yeah, you just get stuck in your head if you don't get into your body. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, for a lot of men, especially a lot of entrepreneurs, like maybe we meditate, maybe we don't, but having like a physical way to express that energy and like do like a physical manifestation of meditation is so powerful for, like you said, getting out of your head, getting into your body, like clearing your mind for what, even like 30, 45 minutes every day. It's just like it totally can make or break your energy and your focus.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about oxygen and all the different ways that works and what that changes in your body. You know, it's a no-brainer to exercise. Even if you are meditating, you still need to exercise because they're different qualities. And if you're exercising, you still need to meditate. You know, they work on different things. They stimulate different parts of the brain. And, you know, we don't have to get into all of it, but, you know, there are parts of the brain that when they've studied prayer, and people that like nuns and religious people that just focus on meditation like processes, they stimulate parts of the brain that normally aren't activated. They actually grow. We find them in autopsies. They're bigger than the normal person's glands.
You heard it here
It's really
first.
interesting.
Pray,
You
grow
heard
your
it.
brain.
Pray, grow your brain. Yeah, totally. You know, I went through something with the lockdown because even though I own a gym, like I actually own a physical location. It's a 1,500 square foot training studio. When I bought my house, one of the things that changed was I ended up being about 30 minutes each way as a commute to get to my gym. And I had my son, and my son now is 16 months old. So I had to go, wow, am I really making an hour-long drive and getting a workout in when I have a baby, like leaving the house for an hour plus the workout time? And so if I was gone for like 2.5 hours, I come back and just wasn't really helpful for my wife. So, you know, the first rule I had to break, because we always have rules, and the way we think create rules. And as long as we have those rules, we create our limitations. So the first rule I had to break was I had to actually take money out of my pocket and give it to another gym, even though I owned the gym. So I found a gym that was really close by. It wasn't ideal, you know, compared to my gym. I was like, man, I don't have a lot of stuff, but you know what? It was enough stuff. So I got in great shape training there with my trainer. He modified the workouts, and well, guess what? I was like, maybe I could go a little further. There's a gym that actually even has better equipment as I progressed. And then I started working out there. And then the pandemic came and shut both those gyms down. So then I went, well, the thing I didn't get was more time actually with the pandemic. The thing that I now have is no gyms. So then I had to figure it out. And you know what I asked myself? I asked myself this question: with what is in my experience right now, what are the qualities that I could really focus on? So when I was at these gyms, I was really focused on cranking heavy weights. I was just like, let me get as strong as I can. Let me do as much load as I can. Let me just perfect these big lifts. And it's funny, the lockdown happened simultaneously with having experience in my body where I went, I don't need to lift any more heavy weights. What I need to do is to feel more comfortable being able to sit on the floor crisscross with my son, because you'd be crawling on the floor. And I found that if I sat there for like an hour and a half, my back would bother me. So I went, well, do I really need to be lifting more weight, or do I need to work on the quality of my movement and how my body is interacting with itself? And that's what I've really focused on this year in my nutrition. It's the cool thing about that, Nate, is it's been incredible for my clients, because they went from going, yeah, I was lifting heavy like Isaac and I'd get really strong and I got all this muscle tissue, to going, wow, you know what I really appreciate about our training is that I feel better after I work out than I did before. Like physically better, I can move easier, I can walk better. And that wasn't something they got until I had that experience. If I had just asked myself a different question, if I had asked myself, is this time for me to take a break on my fitness? My clients wouldn't have benefited from that at all. And I wouldn't have either. Yeah, I
That's a
remember
good
not
point.
being able to reach down into the crib to pick my son up because my back hurt so bad. That's how much I was lifting and squatting, and I was doing deadlifts off a platform, elevated deadlifts, and now it's like I can do anything. It doesn't bother me, and I can still lift weights. So, it was really a blessing for me, but only because I chose to think about it as a blessing. I think that's the important part of having a ruthless mindset. Like, what is the benefit of being here in this car on this call instead of at home? It's like I don't see it now, but I know that it is here.
Maybe avoid an accident, or maybe you just got that really beautiful glow that not everyone on the podcast can hear, but is there.
That's right. It's
Awesome,
probably
buddy.
it's
Hey,
probably it's probably the former.
well, I really appreciate you and your wisdom and coming on the podcast today. Before we jump off, is there one thought, one platitude, quote, something hot take you want to share with us?
Yeah, give me a second to just think about it. It won't be too long. I think what I'm sensing here is, if there's something that you want in your life, and it doesn't matter if it's in your relationship, if it's in your fitness, if it's in your finances. If there's something you want in your life, what it comes down to is ask yourself this question: what do you believe about that, and is that really 100% true? Like, if you had to bet everything on it, is that really 100% true? And if it's not true, and it's not 100% true, then go search for what is true, because what you want lies on the other side of that.
That's good, man. Dude, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy life. 'Cause I know you got baby boy Leo at home. Thanks, Natasha, for lending us your time today. Appreciate it, and hope you get home safe.
Thanks, man. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right,
Thanks
brother.
for
I'll talk
having
to you
me.
very soon.
Talk to you soon.